I will give you the answer based on my experiences that I had. Typically, coming in and talking to employees of the company, kind of interviewing them, starting all the way at the top and going all the way to the bottom, combining that data and presenting, and typically there are a lot of surprises for senior people in the information that comes out of their employees. Typically, they can be grouped into two buckets. One, we are not very good at delivering projects, and then they go into specifics. And we're not very good at selecting projects. And then you try to come up with methodologies. You take best practices and you try to align them properly with whatever issues that they have. Education is the second factor in this, because if people don't know what they're doing, if your executives don't know what project portfolio management, it's unlikely that they're going to do that. It is very likely that they will fall into the trap of, well, let's just install software, and it will address all of our needs. So these are the starting points. Opening their eyes to this, kind of by doing like the survey I've done, doing a 1-hour presentation is a good idea, is a good point to start. I get asked that question all the time, and I always say, I give this example. I own my own business. As soon as I registered my company, I was told, well, I knew that I have to submit taxes, file my taxes with revenue account, and I'm sure you'll. I don't have much background in accounting, and that's the example I use because people can easily relate to that. I can fill out my personal, but not the corporate. Do you think if I go to Best Buy and I buy Simply Accounting or whatever they offer, Sage software, and I install it on my computer, that will make me capable of filing my taxes? Very unlikely. So my request to you guys, start with methodology first, go to software second. If you can do it using pen and paper, software ain't going to help you. Having said that, Microsoft project, they recently came up with Microsoft Project Server with a portfolio management module on top of that. I saw it a couple of times. I heard good things about it. Again, based on my experience, if they are not aware of this, these facts that I just shared with you, they're very unlikely to fall into the mode of, well, do we give them more resources or do we cut projects? I very rarely saw that happen. Typically, it was roll up your sleeves and work harder. We're known as a hard-working company. We're known as a dedicated company of dedicated. This is all, in my experience, a cover-up for shut up and work harder. Rather than, well, let's see what project should we select to make sure that we'll maximize our success. Education is the only one thing I can think of. No. I would like to do that, but I just told you. Remember the example I gave you when I would offer to the company, well, let's go back and look at the last year's portfolio of projects and see how well you're doing. The answer unequivocally was no. Never. Because whatever assumptions, if they were even making any assumptions. Because if your 80% of your portfolio of projects started by, wouldn't it be really cool if we could do this? Guess what? 1 year later, none of these projects will be winners. If you're an executive of such a company, do you really want to go analyze that, have these facts presented to the board of directors? Probably not. So I'm always looking forward rather than looking backward. You see, what I see, that's a very good question. In my experience, executives are still evaluated on, did you deliver that project on time and on budget? Rather than, did that project bring any value to the company? The inability to answer that question, because very few executives can define what value is. Remember that discussion, university versus product company? They never have those discussions. Very few, I didn't include it in this presentation, but there was a study done, market winners versus market underperformers, and the correlation between having a portfolio management in place or not. These ratios were just staggering. 16 to 1, 30 to 1, 100 to 1 of having good project portfolio management techniques versus not having them. I was working for a bank once. We were having a someone was leaving the company or something to that effect, and we were having beers, and the VP of the company wasn't sitting next to me. And there was a director of the department sitting next to him, and they've been with the company for 20, 25 years. And I've been with the company for like 3 months. And they were discussing, mentioning some guy named Mike this, Mike that. And I go, who are you talking about? He goes, oh, Mike, he used to run things in the good old times. I go, what do you mean good old times? He goes, well, we didn't have no stupid project management. He just used to bang his fist on the desk and thing got done. And I go to the guy, I go, Tony, how big was the average project you worked on? $50,000. Go, what are the top 10 projects in our portfolio right now? 50 million each. So my suggestion to you, how do you determine whether having project management might help you? If your projects are small and insignificant and they have no impact on the success of the business. And there's some companies out there. Barbershops, local companies. Up until 10 years ago, probably most of the financial institutions, they didn't have big projects. It's changing now. But if you have projects, if you wake up, and many executives find themselves in this situation, they wake up one day and go, oh my God, 80% of my company resources is invested into projects rather than business as usual. By the way, a very interesting study to undertake at the company. Go to each one of the people working at your company and say, what percentage of your time do you work on projects and what percentage of your time do you work on as business as usual? Portfolio management, I think, is applicable to everything. I can't think. I just gave an example of university. I know the government of Bahrain right now is doing it. I know Aramco, the little company, oil-producing company in Saudi Arabia. I think they made like $1 trillion last year. They're doing that. Ministry of Religious Affairs of Brunei is considering doing that. I didn't even know until recently that such an organization exists, but they do that. Any financial institution, government, because you're always government, you have a fixed budget, and you have product companies were the originators of this. How do I deliver successful products? So I can't think of any company that wouldn't benefit. Again, if you have a lot of your percentage of your resources invested into projects, yeah, definitely.